Thank you, Madam Chair. I enjoyed our meeting last week. We had a good, lively conversation. As I told you then, the thing I hear overwhelmingly from farmers would be waters of the U.S. That is whipsawed back and forth for a long, long time. Seems to have the rule tweaked or changed depending on which administration is in place. I think farmers are getting fatigued from it. Their job has gotten even more complicated due to current markets and high input costs, all the complications of running that very difficult small business. And by and large, I was sensing a big relief when the Trump rule, was acknowledged, trying to implement it. And then, of course, the administration has completely flipped it back to where I think it's going to be in that onerous side to where farmers think it's above and beyond what is necessary in terms of their own stewardship on their own property. So, couple things. Is there any interest on your part, number one, to listen to farmers, which I'd hope would be, so they can tell you what I hear all the time, that where it's going, they don't think there are marginal benefits to it. They think it's an example of government, being overburdening. And when I look at some of the stuff they're having to contend with, or when I looked at like our own state when I was driving between where I live up to the Capitol and saw probably $200 signs posted all along our new interstate when it was in a little hillside that wouldn't ever have water in it, more than a moment or two during a storm. To me, that was something gone too far. Where are you at on that? It's what I'm hearing. They don't like where the new rule is going to go. Do you agree with the new rule, or do you think it needs to be tweaked to a point of more practicality?
First, I want to respond to your point about listening to farmers. I think that's a crucial part of the work at USDA, and making sure that you're representing, that folks are hearing concerns and ideas and thoughts from farmers and ranchers as they're considering regulation. When it comes, we did speak about waters of the United States when we met, and I really appreciated that. It's something that when I worked for Senator Udall as a field representative years ago was also an issue. And so that question of consistency about going back and forth, I truly understand, because it's not just about the rule itself, but it's about, is there a rule that can settle, that folks can find some peace with and everyone agree on? And that's where the listening comes into play. I think it's important that all of us are listening to each other. I think it's important that USDA communicate in our area of expertise, and then also that we're honoring the science behind decisions as well.
So 50 years ago, when stewardship and conservation and that whole idea of keeping soil on your farm probably had lots of room for improvement, I don't see that. I see most farmers now embracing cover crops, doing riparian buffers, doing grass waterways, doing all the things that looks like they're there 90% of the way. Then I have a local farmer that gets run down by our own conservation officer because he's doing a little ditch maintenance in a ditch that never has any rain in it other than very, very occasionally. I would say, listen, I've not talked to one farmer or one small developer that thinks the new ruling is practical and is going to give marginal benefits beyond the marginal cost. So that's my observation. Do what you said you were going to do. Listen to farmers. Hear it for yourself. The other thing is I have farmers worried about conservation practices being a prerequisite for keeping their safety net in place. Are you for that, or do you think those should be completely unconnected?
I have to admit, this is a place where I don't have a lot of expertise currently in my role as Undersecretary for Rural Development. I have seen a real impact in the value of providing opportunities and incentive-based programs, whether it's when it comes to emergency rural health care, when it comes to grants for meat and poultry processing. I do understand the value of incentives-based, and certainly, if confirmed as Deputy Secretary, to commit to looking more into the issue.
And I think if you do what you said you're going to do, listen to farmers, I'd love to get a report back in 3 to 4 months if they're telling you what I've told you and then what you think about it after you've listened. Thank you.